Thank you. Good afternoon. Namaste to everyone. Distinguished participants, fellow colleagues who are in the fight for the equitable society. The presentations made by few colleagues out there and some speakers who just spoke a few minutes ago have made my job easier. I'm here to just thank you and congratulate to all of you that you have expressed such a beautiful trajectory of the theoretical discourses, the practical tips that we have to go across and take along, and also perhaps the ways to de-learn what we have learned. So that's what I just was listening to you all when I was at the back a few minutes ago. And I'm so much benefited on my personal counts as well. I'm learning with you, and I express my solidarity with the saga, with the struggle, with the fight you are all fighting for. As the member of this patriarchy, and I must acknowledge, and I must be ashamed of myself to have also contributed to create this unequal society. As a member, male member of this community, I've not been able to contribute the way I should have been able to. And I think we all, as the men, even the female counterparts, have to de-learn this first. We've not realized this, the role within ourselves. So, on the outset, I would confess this, that I'm now onwards will try to do whatever I can within my domestic fronts and in my society or in my office, wherever I go. That's the first confession I must make and the promise, if you call so. I was very much amazed to listen to one of my colleagues, Pavitra ji, earlier when she raised a question about whether we should change the approach itself to call a poverty period or period poverty to one of the presenters there. And I think that's beautiful propositions we are making. That's how we should learn things. If we are calling about the rights and rights and rights, equity, equitable society, where does the phrase again come in between? Again, why do we borrow those so-called, quote-unquote, those period poverty? Who makes them poor? Who says they are poor? Why do we define them as such? So that's the fundamental approach I heard, and I was overwhelmed. And that's the learning I think we have to make from. So that's the one thing I would like to convey from my side. And on today, the 10th December, we have turned out 77 years from 1948 when Universal Declaration of Human Rights was proclaimed. And that's such a beautiful history. Ever since, we have seen so many things happening, but still see we are fighting for an equitable society. On this day, we must take some lessons to contribute, to reflect, and also perhaps to tap ourselves for the things that we have achieved, and also remind ourselves for the things that we are yet to achieve. I just want to take one beautiful quote from Simone de Beauvoir, who you know very much. She says, "One is not born, but rather becomes a woman." From her Second Sex, that is a voluminous book available online. And I'm so much amazed how she puts that in one small sentence. One is not born. She has not taken a birth yet, but we are trying to make her a woman right from the womb. I think you have had a lot of discussion during these 3 days on these fundamental tenets of rights. So think how the society is trying to push the women to think their way. I mean, their way means from the men's way, from their way means to speak, to dream, to speak, to position, everything. I think that's where we have to unlearn ourselves, de-learning. Finally, the Roosevelt, I think we shouldn't forget that, the chair of the UDHR drafting committee, Madam First Lady, who also said, no one can make you feel inferior without your consent. That's another line I would like to just reflect on. One is subjugation story of the coin. See, the side A is the story of the subjugation, where the whole society is creating the different story, different social control measures in one way or the another. On the other side, we have the story of our own, where we are perhaps not ready to assert or to challenge. That's the story of submission. So the story of subjugation and the story of submission. So that's where we are in between. And now we have to strike a beautiful balance to challenge those who are subjugating us and to unlearn the things to submit ourselves. So this is the story I think we have to draw from these two beautiful sentences, the quotes of these two great thinkers. Finally, I would like to congratulate Radha Paudel Foundation, Global South Coalition, and all of the distinguished guests who have come along from different countries. I was taking briefs from my colleagues, and we are very happy to have joined hands with this whole gathering to this symposia. I heard the declaration, and I wish we could further join our hands to go along with you whenever, wherever, and however. So finally, thank you all. I promise again to stay connected as the institution and as my personal behalf, and I wish you all the best to your safe return, as well as, let's see, the journey has not been easy, is not easy, and will not perhaps be easy, but we have to be mindful to remind ourselves that we continue to fight for. Thank you once again. Thank you all.